Your hands are shaking. Your heart is pounding before you've said a single word. You step up to the front of the room, and every face turns toward you at once. This feeling has a name: glossophobia. But the real explanation for why your body reacts this way has nothing to do with the boardroom or the wedding toast or the slide deck behind you. It reaches back almost 70,000 years to a time when being watched by your group wasn't just uncomfortable. It could be a matter of life and death. Think about the last time you had to speak in front of people. Did your mouth go dry? Did your voice shake even slightly? You weren't being weak. You were running a program older than language itself. Here's the strange part: public speaking doesn't threaten your body. No one in that room is going to attack you. There's no predator behind the podium, and yet survey after survey finds that people rank the fear of public speaking above the fear of heights, above the fear of flying, sometimes even above the fear of death. Why would your nervous system treat a presentation like a life threatening event? To understand that, you have to go back to the world your brain was actually built for. Picture a small band of early humans, maybe 30 or 40 people, moving together across a vast, dangerous landscape. There were no police, no hospitals, no grocery stores. Survival depended entirely on the group. If you were injured, the group fed you. If you were sick, the group protected you. If you were cast out alone in that landscape, your odds of surviving the next few weeks dropped close to zero. Exclusion wasn't an inconvenience, it was a death sentence. Now picture what it felt like to suddenly become the center of everyone's attention in that world. It rarely happened by accident. It happened when something had gone wrong: a broken promise, a failed hunt, a challenge to your status within the tribe. Being looked at by the whole group all at once was almost always a signal that your place in that group was being evaluated. Psychologist Mark Leary built an entire theory around this idea. He called it sociometer theory, and the concept is simple once you hear it. Your self esteem isn't really a measure of how good you feel about yourself in isolation. It functions more like a gauge, constantly monitoring how included or excluded you are by the people around you. When that gauge drops, you feel anxious, ashamed, exposed. Leary argued this gauge evolved for one reason. In a world where exclusion meant death, you needed an early warning system for social rejection long before it actually happened. So, what does this have to do with a microphone and a stage? Everything. Because your sociometer doesn't know the difference between a tribal council 70,000 years ago and a conference room today. All it knows is this: every eye in the room is focused on you. To that ancient detection system, this looks exactly like the moment right before judgment, right before the group decides whether you still belong. There's a second piece to this puzzle, and it comes from research on something far darker than awkward small talk. Psychologist Kipling Williams spent decades studying ostracism, the experience of being excluded or ignored. In one of his most famous experiments called Cyberball, participants played a simple game of catch on a computer with two other players, except the other two players were programmed to suddenly stop throwing the ball to them. No explanation, no warning, just exclusion. The brain scans from that moment were remarkable. The same regions that activate during physical pain lit up when people were excluded from a simple, meaningless game. Williams's research showed something your ancestors already knew in their bones. Social rejection isn't just emotionally unpleasant. Your brain processes it using the same machinery it uses for a broken bone. Now imagine standing in front of a room, feeling the possibility of that same rejection multiplied by every single face watching you. There's a third thread that ties this together, and it comes from evolutionary psychiatrist Paul Gilbert. Gilbert studied something he called social rank theory, the idea that humans evolved finely tuned systems for tracking their status within a group, because status determined access to resources, protection, and mates. Falling in rank wasn't just embarrassing. It could mean losing your place in the group's protection entirely. Gilbert argued that anxiety and shame aren't malfunctions. They're ancient alarms built to stop you from doing anything that might damage your standing in front of others. This is why your body doesn't ask whether the room actually poses a threat. It only asks one question: is my status currently being judged by everyone watching? And when the answer is yes, your nervous system responds exactly as it was designed to, by flooding you with adrenaline, tightening your throat, and quickening your pulse, preparing you for a conflict that, in your ancestors' world, might genuinely have determined whether you stayed in the group or were left behind. Even your blush fits into this story. Charles Darwin found this expression curious enough to study it directly. He noted that blushing seemed to be a uniquely human response tied specifically to being observed and self conscious in front of others. Some researchers since have suggested blushing may have served as an ancient peace signal, an involuntary display that says, I know I've drawn attention, I'm not challenging the group, please don't push me out. Your reddening face during an awkward toast may be an ancient broadcast of submission your conscious mind never agreed to send. So here's the twist: the fear you feel before speaking isn't proof that something is wrong with you. It's proof that an ancient detection system is functioning exactly the way it was built to. The shaking hands, the racing heart, the dry mouth, all of it is a 70,000-year-old alarm trying to protect a version of you that lived in groups of 30, where every face turning toward you really could decide your future. But here's where the story gets genuinely strange. That system never received the memo that the world changed. It doesn't know that the worst outcome of a bad presentation is a slightly awkward Slack message the next morning, not banishment into a hostile wilderness. It doesn't know that strangers in an audience, unlike your ancestral tribe, have almost no power over whether you eat tonight or where you sleep. Your body is still defending a version of social survival that hasn't existed for tens of thousands of years. This is also why a strange detail keeps appearing in research on public speaking anxiety. People often feel calmer speaking to a massive anonymous audience than to a small, familiar one. A packed stadium of 30,000 strangers can feel less threatening than five coworkers you'll see again tomorrow. Your ancient alarm isn't measuring how many people are watching, it's measuring how much those people matter to your ongoing place in the group. The five coworkers can actually affect your real world status. The 30,000 strangers, oddly, cannot. Think about where this shows up in your own life beyond the stage: the dread before sending a risky email to your boss, the tightness in your chest before walking into a room where you suspect people have been talking about you, the hesitation before raising your hand to disagree with the group. Each of these moments triggers the exact same ancient circuitry, the same sociometer dropping, the same fear of falling in rank, because to your nervous system, every one of these moments looks like the instant right before the tribe decides what to do with you. Knowing this doesn't make the fear disappear, but it does change what the fear means. It isn't a personal weakness whispering that you're inadequate. It's an inheritance from every ancestor who ever survived by staying alert to their place in the group. The shaking hands you feel before stepping up to speak are the same shaking hands that once helped someone in your bloodline avoid being left behind on a dangerous journey. The system worked. It's still working. It's simply applying ancient rules to a modern room. So the next time you feel your pulse rise before speaking, before that first word leaves your mouth, remember what's actually happening. Your hands are shaking, your heart is pounding, but not because something is wrong with you in this moment. They're shaking because somewhere inside you, an alarm built 70,000 years ago is still standing guard, faithfully protecting a tribe that, for better or worse, no longer needs saving.